Sanders, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor, used to work in the building behind Kevin. She joins us live right now. Sarah, you know, when you look at the transcript, or which not exactly a transcript, as we explained a moment ago, but I don't see a lot of the stuff we had heard was going to be in it, where the whistleblower complained that the president made a promise to a foreign leader so troubling that it prompted the complaint that there was essentially quid pro quo. We're not going to give you the $400 billion unless you look into the Bidens. Where is all that stuff?
It isn't there. Bill, real quick, before we get to that, one thing I want to clear up. They're actually not mowing the grass because the president's coming back. They're mowing the grass because somebody's doing a live TV hit. It never fails that any time anybody is at the White House doing live TV, the lawnmower or the street sweepers come out in full force to make sure they challenge your job just a little bit more. So good job to Kevin for staying on task. But in all seriousness, the idea that they thought there was going to be some type of major bombshell to come out of this is frankly embarrassing for the Democrats. I think that it's one of the dumbest and most ridiculous political moves that we've seen in history, how they have forced impeachment over this issue. The fact is, I think that this should be looked at as an in-kind contribution to the president's reelection campaign, because all this is doing is helping fuel his campaign. They're raising more money, they're rallying his base, and they're unifying the Republican Party in a way that only they can by attacking this president the way they do time and time again. It is absurd that they continue to go down this road and haven't learned anything new from it. I think the big loser in all this process has to be Joe Biden. He is coming out and looking terrible, and so far the only inappropriate behavior that I'm seeing in this entire thing is that of Vice President Joe Biden in order to help his son.
Sarah, when you were there, was there some division on how much Rudy Giuliani was doing in the Ukraine? Evidently, there was unnamed sources that said, people in the administration said, we're uncomfortable with Rudy Giuliani taking the lead there. And now this has all come out. Can you expand on that?
Look, I'm not going to get into the past back and forth between Rudy Giuliani. He wasn't an administration official, but he was a good friend of the president. And certainly they developed a good relationship over the course of many years, but particularly over their president's fight in the absurd Russia witch hunt that went on for 2.5 years. I think this is exactly out of the Democrats' playbook. They used a fake scandal with Russia. Now they're trying to create a fake scandal with Ukraine. It doesn't matter who the actors are. The real bad players in this whole process are the Democrats trying to fool American voters. The good thing is the American voters are far too smart to fall for the Democrat lies. I think one of the best things that's coming out of this is the contrast of who is showing up to be fit to lead our country in a very trying time. You have the Democrats playing games and pulling together these fake scandals on impeachment, yet the president is at the UN General Assembly striking multi-billion-dollar deals with Japan that are helping our farmers and ranchers. He's championing religious liberty, and he's showing who's fit to be president, who's fit to lead this country, and it's certainly this president and not any of the candidates that we're seeing from the Democrat side.
Yeah, you're right. I think the Democrats are the optics in this. They didn't even wait until the transcript was seen because so many are so progressive and they just want to impeach. You mentioned the hypocrisy with Joe Biden and his son. Many people are talking about that double standard, and they're also playing video back from 1998 of when all the Democrats, the very ones that are pushing impeachment now, were slamming it back in 1998 when Bill Clinton was getting impeached. Watch this.
The Republicans in the House are paralyzed with hatred, not judging the president with fairness, but impeaching him with a vengeance.
An impeachment of a president is an undoing of a national election.
They hate Bill and Hillary Clinton so much they will stop at nothing to bring him down.
I expect history will show that we've lowered the bar on impeachment so much that it will be used as a routine tool to fight political battles. My fear is that when a Republican wins the White House, Democrats will demand payback.
This is their president we are talking about, and make darn sure that we are able to convince them, if we decide to upset their decision, that our decision to impeach him was based upon principle and not politics.
Sarah?
I mean, it's astonishing. I wish I could say it's surprising, but frankly, it isn't. We've seen the Democrats be so hypocritical, not just on impeachment, but on major policy issues, whether it's immigration, whether it's health care. Time and time again, the Democrats show their true colors, and it's that they don't care about the country. They care about tearing the president down.
Right.
They've completely lost sight of what is important and are singularly focused on making sure they destroy the president and win re-election. It's sad that they have decided to put politics and their winning an election over what's best for the country. Thankfully, the president has called them out. He says, not on my watch, and he's quick to point out, and he stands up and fights. No other president in history, I think, could withstand the type of aggressive attacks that the president has had to endure and still come out on top and still stay focused on what's best and still trying to deliver for the American people. He has called on Democrats to work with him. Hopefully, they'll start to see these tactics aren't working and do exactly that.
Well, Sarah, speaking of aggressive, you know, I think the Democrats never thought that the president would declassify and release that transcript, such as it is, of the phone call, because, you know, the terrible precedent, as we have heard. But he did, because ultimately he probably thought it would exonerate him. And now it's, you know, given the prism of where you stand politically, whether or not you see something there or you don't.
I think the president's done exactly the right thing, while very difficult, because it puts every single foreign leader interaction he has down the line in question, because now everybody's going to want to see the transcript every time. But I think he's done the right thing in being transparent in the process. Hopefully the Democrats will do the same thing and ask that of Vice President Biden and all of his interactions with China and Ukraine. Let's hope that he can rise to the same standard that the president has set throughout this process.
In the short term, Brad Parscale says that they raised about $1 million the first day and now over about $5 million for the campaign since they came out with the impeachment inquiry. So it looks like the supporters are doubling down. Real quick, do you worry about Ben Sasse, who says to Republicans, slow down and make sure you don't attack the whistleblower? He said there are disturbing things here. He's the Republican senator out of Nebraska.
Look, Senator Sasse is certainly welcome to his own opinion. He's not welcome to his own facts. And I think that the facts are clear. We've seen that in this transcript that came out. There was no quid pro quo. The president was having, as all can see, a very normal and standard conversation with another foreign leader, both who campaigned on getting rid of corruption, both who have talked about draining the swamp in their own countries. And this was a conversation simply on that. And I think the president was showing that he's continuing to deliver on his promises to do what he told people he was going to do in 2016. He's continuing to do since he got elected.
You think you know who the whistleblower is?
No, I've got some guesses, but we'll wait and see what happens.
No, go ahead.
Who do you guess?
We'll do that offline before I get myself into any trouble.
Do you think the president knows who it is?
I need to get a lawnmower to come through here so I can say that I can't hear you.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much for joining us live.